just one by one, you can introduce yourselves, talk about whatever fintech that comes to your mind, and we take it from there. Please.
Thank you, Qasif. My name is Mudassar Aqil. I work for FINCA Microfinance Bank. I think after beautiful, I call Qasif the oracle of Fintechs in Pakistan. I think after his very thought-provoking and insightful predictions about what's to come, I think it would be difficult to add value on what's happening in the fintech scene in Pakistan, but I'll give it a shot. So, FINCA is a microfinance bank. We are a relatively young bank in the Pakistani context. We are about 8 years old. We serve close to 500,000 people. About 1/3 of them are borrowers, and the rest of them are our depositors. And we have painstakingly learned the business of giving small loans to micro and small enterprises. So these are people who have generally no access to credit. They have no record of any kind of financial identity in Pakistan. And majority of them are living in such places where you can't even deliver mail. So, but these people have very robust businesses and they operate in a sort of like a shadow economy. An economy which is not documented, economy which we have very little knowledge of. And what we have demonstrated over the past 8 years is that this is an addressable market and actually a very profitable segment of the market also. And we have disbursed loans to over about 350,000 such small enterprises in the last 8 years, and we've disbursed about 25 billion rupees. And we have recovered 99% of it back also. That shows that these are responsible people with thriving businesses. But at the same time, the challenge that we have is that Pakistan is such a large country, and if we went about this business by opening branch by branch in every city, in every small town, and then sending a salesperson to their door, it will probably take another 50 years before we can serve all of the people who want a financial services account from us. Just to give you context, that in the last 15 years, since microfinance banks have been operating in Pakistan, we've been able to get out to now 4 million people. So 4 million small enterprises. That's about 1/6 of the size of the market, which is estimated to be about 25 million small enterprises. So that's where technology comes in. That's where fintechs, I believe, are going to play a huge part. And I completely endorse what Qasif said earlier, that the idea is not that fintechs will come and displace banks. The idea is that they will come on top of the banks in collaboration with banks, and jointly we will together create new value. And that is essentially what we are working on actually with Qasif's Fintech. And we have a very exciting product that we hope to launch within the next couple of months. So I hope that all of you stay tuned for some of the stuff that we will be inshallah bringing to all of you.
Thank you, that's great. So what Mudassar is saying is really, if you look at what's happening in the global context, is microfinance has been around for almost 35-40 years, Professor Yunus and William Day. And in those 35-40 years, it has only banked about 300 million customers globally. Now we could compare that to what the telephone companies have done in the last 20 years, which is 4 billion plus people. So in a sense, microfinance has, pardon me saying this, has saved the world, because 300 million people over 40 years is not success. Now we're beginning to see a new way of actually exponentially changing that. And that is to take the microfinance business case, which is analog, because we take paper to open a relationship, then we give a loan, to our customers in cash, and then we collect that cash back as a repayment. Obviously, you can't scale like that. So the vision that Mudassar has and FINCA has is to start to collaborate with nimble Fintechs and reconstruct the model in such a way that it becomes digital, more like the way of the digital products like Skype, Viber, WhatsApp, etc., like a mobile app. That's how the banking products have to behave, and they have to become digital in their orientation, and then the scale definition changes. And that's what he's talking about, bringing that thinking to microfinance in a place like Pakistan is what the partnership is. Fahim, would you like to say, I just have a fleeting thought, which is this, that do all of us know what fintechs are? Or should we take a minute to define? We should take sorry, it's a rather late in the talk, but would somebody want to take a crack on what a one-line definition of fintech is? Anybody, it's okay. Okay, so fintechs are small startups or small companies that are obsessed by digitizing the financial value chain. Or these are companies that go out and create new value through the use of technology which is specific to financial services. That's really what fintechs are, and they're coming in all sorts of areas. Lending, payments, wealth, insurance, any of these, right? That's what they do. Fahim.
Okay, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Fahim. I'm representing Efma. Efma is the largest banking association in the world with over 3,300 member financial institutions globally. We are not new. We have been there for the last 40 years, but we are not old as well. In the sense that we are very much up to date to what is happening. Just yesterday, FINCA issued a white paper on PSD2. And PSD2, for the information of everybody, is the European standard on APIs. So how the banks need to actually open up their platforms to what is happening globally and to actually enable sort of interrelate with the fintechs and everybody, all the startups. Having said that, how many of us have really got annoyed and really got frustrated when we press the air steward or air hostess button at the counter which is there, and when you are flying, and it takes ages for the air crew to actually respond to us. See, it is not just the banking industry which is very much outdated or such. I think all the large organizations are feeling the same sort of pressure from the startup, and it is an opportunity for everyone. Because whether it's the healthcare industry, whether it's the utility, whether it's the banking industry, we are all living in the outdated user experience as such. And that's the opportunity for the fintechs to come in and actually create a value. So when we were having a little bit of a chat just before the session, I introduced myself as a Careem customer. And I thanked Careem for the 300 rupees sort of voucher they gave me because I have not been traveling with them. It means like I have not been traveling them for the last 15 days. Yeah? So they were actually preempting me. But guess what? I was in Singapore because I'm a citizen of there. So I actually ended up at the bank branch. The reason being that I had to actually open a couple of bank accounts and update my profile. And you know what? A digitally savvy bank which has been showcasing their awards have not updated my demographic information as basic as my residential address for the last 15 years. and they have actually been using my job title, which has been there with them for the last 15 years. So can they actually claim that they are sitting on the data which they are harnessing? Not really. Same is the case with the healthcare institutions. How many of us are prompted that we are traveling outside or we have reached that milestone in our life stage. We are done, where we do need the travel insurance, where we do need the health insurance, and where we do need a sort of interlinkage with something. And guess what? These are the large institutions, these are the elephants, what Qasif has said, that you can't let the elephants learn to dance because they are not going to. So you have to have the chimpanzees jumping all around on top of the elephants. So you need to have the synergies being created.
Yeah, these are very important points that you made. So, all incumbents, and not just limited to the financial services space, are realizing that they are platforms. And through a method, they are at different stages of exposing their APIs, opening their assets for small startups and fintechs to come in and define the next level of value. And therein lies the biggest opportunity. And it's in the startup space and it's in the fintech space. And the opportunities are all over. The opportunities are more in places where the incumbents have not really captured the market. So in Pakistan, insurance, for example, is less than 1.5% of the people have insurance. So if there is a fintech or there is a startup that figures out how to source new leads or how to convert them and service them and all of that, then they have a huge runway to go. And obviously the insurance companies are very ready, I can tell you, to partner with those. So opportunities in this new world order where the burden of innovation has moved out of the incumbents to the startups are plenty. That's what we're alluding to. Junaid?
Again, I manage a company called Careem. How many of you heard of Careem? Excellent. How many of you have used Careem? Okay. How many of you have added your credit card to the Careem app? Okay, so about 50% or 60-70% of the room knew about Careem. Out of that, a handsome amount had used it. But if you look at the total, maybe 2% of the room has actually entered their credit card.
Yeah, but do you enter debit also or just credit?
So I'm just coming to that.
Yeah.
So obviously everyone here is from the fintech space. I'm gonna cry over here and tell you my pain points and beg to the fintech space to please solve our problems. So this is where it begins. In a country of 200 million people, there are only 1.4 million credit cards. Out of those 1.2 million credit cards or 1.4 million credit cards, only 375,000 are active, right? So you can apply the same percentages to the total pool of Careem users or customers. Now, within those 375,000 people who actually do have a card, a lot of them are not comfortable using it online because back in the 90s there used to be a lot of fraud. Right? So now, even though there is a lot of technology which makes online transactions secure, they don't use the cards because they think it's insecure.
Yeah.
When they go to the electronics market and buy an air conditioner, the guy over there says, I'm going to charge you 3% extra if you're going to use your credit card. So guess what? They don't use it there either. And debit cards are now, the population of debit cards, guess how many debit cards are there in Pakistan? Any guesses?
20 million.
23 million, they say. But these, so out of all the issuers of credit cards, 1.2 million is the total. About 700,000 are not open for online transactions by default. You have to call your bank and either open it for a session or then open it by default. Debit cards are closed for online transactions by default. When you call your bank and say कि ये card को खोल दे, the kind of disclaimers they give you would scare the S out of anyone. The kind of disclaimers they give you makes you think that you'll have to end up giving your house away. That's how big a travesty could take place. So So how does this apply to us? Now think of how Careem operates. Now I asked if there are any Careem customers. I'll ask because I've spotted one. Are there any Careem vendors here? People who have given their cars and drivers to Careem? Okay, there's one here, my friend Ayaz is right there. So now let's think of the ecosystem. You take a Careem ride as a customer. Now at the end of the ride, you're trying to pay by cash. The captain and you both get the same notification that you have to pay 563 rupees or 365 rupees. Now, either the captain has to have exact change, or then you leave the change with the captain and have the captain top your account out with that money.
Not give him?
You can give him as well. So let's say you got a 1,000 rupee bill, your ride is worth 450 bucks. You tell him take a 50 rupee tip and top off the 500. Sometimes the captain forgets. Sometimes, in a rare occasion, 1% of the time, he doesn't do it. It's a broken system. But now I'm getting off on MS in a road, and I'm trying to have this cash transaction with the captain. If I've entered my credit card, I just say, alright, thank you, just send my right to the office. And while I'm on the go, I get a message, and in that I can add the tip.
Sure.
So this part is broken. Now every 15 days we settle with our captains. So for 15 days we're exposed with this cash risk of captains walking around with money.
Wow.
Captains owe either the owners of their car or the owners of the cars owe Careem money. In some cases, we owe the captains money if they earned a bonus. Now let's talk about the bi-weekly payment settlement. If we have to send out bonus payments because maybe 1,000 captains did really well, we've tried different things. We tried IBFT. How are we going to get 1,000 of them to open my account? So then one bank offered us cash on counter. That through this system, each captain will get an SMS. With this SMS and with their ID card, they can go to the counter of a bank and collect cash. Now guess what? The bank sold us this service, but forgot to send a notification to all their branches that this product that we launched 2 years ago is now live. So if someone walks, so the guy on the first day walking up is like, can I have my cash? And the cashier is like, but
and these guys don't like to walking back.
they don't like walking back because it's a waste of his time. He's supposed to drive.
Plus they get judged also based on their appearance and all.
They also feel not, there's that hesitancy, right? This guy's wearing a good but he doesn't feel good going to the bank. Plus he has to find parking. Okay, so then we're like, okay, let's try Easy Pesa or HPL Express, or you'll be along me. Now, these are small points of sales at shops. If I'm a small shop and in a slightly dangerous area, and 3 captains have come and delivered cash to me, which I have to send, which this guy has to send to Careem. Now, this shop is a target. This shop has good amount of cash. If 3 captains or more go and receive cash from the Easy Pesa outlet, now this guy has no cash left.
Right.
So, e-commerce, Alibaba did a sale last year in November, a Singles Day sale. They were tired, my colleague Finja, she educated us on this, that they were tired of the Valentine's Day sale and this sale, that sale. Guess how much, what was the value of the stuff they sold in one day?
$14 billion. 14 billion.
$14 billion. Do you think it was done by cash on delivery? It wasn't. So e-commerce can grow, whether it's Daraz or Careem or Travel or home shopping or any other service, sukoon.com. These companies are growing rapidly. Careem is growing at 20% a week. In a steady state, after a year or 2 years, companies like us grow at about 30 to 40% a month. By this token, companies which are in the e-commerce space can become huge players in Pakistan's GDP and help create jobs. You've got guys who've got extra cars or extra cash. You've got people outside who've need jobs, and you've got people who need a service. Now, this could be a guy standing there with a drill being connected to a guy who needs a painting to be put up. But unless the payment system is figured out, the growth cannot sustain. So that's our pain point. We need someone, either a Finja or a Falcon Pay, to go out and figure out the system that just the way in the app we can go and enter the credit card number once, and then we don't have to do anything again. We need to come up with a system where we maybe log in with Finja once in the app, and at the back the customer connects their Visa account with Finja, and then they don't have to do add any codes or put any, do anything else. Once the ride is over, or once the guy has done fixing your AC, or once Food Panda has delivered your food, the money automatically goes.
Yeah.
That's what I hope Fintechs will deliver, and that's I hope what State Bank will allow.
Yeah. Look, what you explained is phenomenal, and there is a layer that fintech and startups are going to come and operate in, and that layer is between Careem, for this example, and the banks, or even the Easy Paisa and Jazz and all of that, because you have to speak to somebody that speaks your speech, and then with the same nimbleness with which you operate, solve problems. And you cannot be talking to an elephant because you're not an elephant, right? And that's really
Chimpanzees, as you said.
yes. So I see, and that's what my prediction is, that the elephants have realized this, and they're opening themselves up. The startups which are there are going to morph into fintechs, and some of the new fintechs are going to come in. And the new fintechs would have to come in from within the corporations. I'm telling you that people that have 10, 15 years of experience who are sitting inside the corporations, this is the time to step out and create your own little setups in solving these types of problems. Because if you don't, then the fintechs are going to come from the Western Hemisphere and solve this for us. So absolutely, State Bank has no issue in it as long as we play smart. And in Pakistan, you have to play smart. So one of the ways of playing smart is, which Mudassar also mentioned, is to try and partner with existing incumbents. Don't try and go to the market yourself as a startup and fintech with financial services. So if you partner with the bank manages the regulator, and you can direct the bank's compliance function to go out and do that. So you should be isolated from what the regulations are, and you need to find a nimble partner, which you will, and then I see many nimble players operating in that bank. And the vision that you paint, Junaid, is that once these problems are going to be solved, the payment problems, the last mile, then it's all oasis after that. Because then really, the startups will come into themselves, because they'll go out and create a service, and it'll be so easy for you to pay for that service. Right now, if you have a business model which is a recurring payment business model, you can't operate that, because how would you get that payment all the time? You can't. So those pieces are missing, but they're falling in place very quickly. Shahid?
Right, coming from an e-commerce background, we're quite excited that Fintechs is finally actually taking off in Pakistan. And the most prominent payment method for us, obviously, is cash on delivery. And one of the most important reasons which we all need to understand, the reason why people prefer cash on delivery is not because people just want to pay in cash. It's mostly where people want to check the product before they want to pay for it. So, because most of the payment methods, digital payment methods that we have, like an interbank fund transfer, are mostly irreversible. With credit cards, you can claim a refund, a chargeback, but people aren't really aware of that. So eventually people prefer paying through cash. So you're very right about the point that mostly in Pakistan we're doing online commerce instead of e-commerce. But we do feel that that could change. We've seen, very recently we've seen a lot of people transacting online instead of going for cash on delivery. And what we've seen is that people who prefer cash on delivery are usually the people who are buying for the first time. Second time around, people don't want to keep that cash in their pocket to transact. They prefer making that payment via bank transfer, and they could even be more comfortable enough to save their credit cards with you if that's needed. So we very recently developed a pilot where we were generating a token number against every invoice number that we had. And that token number was for Easy Pay. They let you generate a token number against any value amount. So because we have riders on the ground and they're the same pain point that you shared. So now our riders could make the delivery, collect the cash, and then digitize it by going to the nearest outlet that they have against that token number, and that token number was then reflecting back to our accounting software, which was basically posting the invoice for us. So we feel that one could, instead of just focusing on the digital payment side, we could even start looking into converting cash into digital payments, and that could be a great solution for all of us.
Yeah. So the point that's being made again and again is the fact that floodgates on all of these businesses will only be open when we start to make a transition from COD to digital. It's like running on sand and then suddenly coming on road, and now you have a heavy bike under it. Now most people don't realize this because 98% of their business is actually coming from COD. So it becomes very difficult to then focus on something which is only 2%. But people who understand their business cases very well know that those floodgates will not be open. And the silver lining that I am showing you now is this, that the time has come that these type of digital solutions are going to happen, and the way that they will happen, that methodology is out there as well. And it's just not me thinking like this. I'm plugged into the ecosystem, and I know all banks and MNOs and most incumbents are thinking like this. I think we can open the stage for questions or comments and make it a little interactive. Okay, go.
Hi, I'm Irfan Padesi. I'm just an investor in startup recently in Dubai. I just have a question around Irfan Padesi. I just moved back from South Africa. I'm an investor in startups. Just run a company called Fund. My question is around the regulations, and not necessarily we shouldn't be speaking about or against the State Bank of Pakistan, but rather I just want to understand how far is the State Bank in terms of regulations. To give you an example, I mean, FDR raided the round offices yesterday, and they were just sitting there for 6 hours for tax purposes, etc. It's a marketplace model. They shouldn't be harassed, but they were. What happens? I mean, how far have we gone as far as the fintech regulation is concerned? When is the State Bank? What are they saying to you? When do you think we will resolve these issues, and especially the P2P licenses, etc.?
Yeah. So I take a quick crack at that. I want to go back to what Fahim said, which is PSD2. We need to understand that, which is a UK regulation. So what the UK regulator is saying, that by 2018, all banks in the UK are going to be mandated to expose their APIs, and any fintech or startup could build on top of those APIs, and if the customer allows that fintech or startup that their data can be exported from all the banks or whichever the banks they belong to, that happen. Banks by law are going to open their APIs, and data that the customers have, transactions, demographics, everything else will become the customer's property, and they could go out and tell various fintechs and startups to have ownership of that. Now, this regulator evidently is harsh on the banks, but no, this regulator is actually a real friend of the banks. That's why it's allowing you to do that. So that's an extreme of the most progressive looking regulation right now in the world, which is PSD2, which is mandating banks to open themselves up. In Pakistan, we are in a place where geopolitical sensitivities are there and many other things, anti-money laundering and all of that. I advise the State Bank, I work with them regularly, I'm also advising them on fintech. So the State Bank's position right now is this, that they're saying that if you are a fintech and you work with a license provider, which is a microfinance bank or a PSP, then they're not worried about your business models and your business cases. Then they let you play the game, but you would have to learn to dance with the elephant, and you have to choose your elephant. Now, if you want to go out and do things on your own, directly to customers and all of that, there things are murky right now. And there, the State Bank is going to take a little bit of time to figure out what their approach is. Having said that, it doesn't prevent innovation. The only issue is that in places like Pakistan, if you want to come into the fintech space, you need to know the grammar. You need to know how to dribble the ball, go into the D and goal, and unfortunately that only comes through experience. So it's highly unlikely that a 24-year-old team or four are going to come in and create something which will disrupt the payment space in Pakistan. But if that 24-year-old team has a person with grey hair or less hair in some cases, or no hair, then the chances would increase, right? So that's the kind of combination. But I can tell you that there is enough room to go out and create a play, but it's going to be unique to Pakistan, and you have to construct a team that could then navigate those mistakes. But it's all possible, it's all happening.
Let me just put a little bit of a global perspective, from outside the country into that. See, there are enough sort of options available. Yeah. So it is not just the local rupee sort of instrument you are looking at. You are looking at Bitcoin. In Tanzania and Kenya, they have come up with BitPesa. Similarly, in Philippines, they have been using Bitcoin to receive and send money. The Philippines is one of the largest recipients of the remittances for workers and from outside the country. Similarly, you have to create an ecosystem which is hospitable towards cashless society. See, like whenever I travel to Europe and I use the cash, there is a disincentive for me to use the cash, because whenever I go over the counter to change the money, I end up paying $15 out of the $100 bill which I am like giving to exchange. Similarly, if I am traveling to Singapore or Dubai, wherever, the ease of use of the cardless payment is so much that I don't see a need to carry the cash. Over here, another sort of aspect is there, which is the tax. Your cashless transactions are taxed, while your cash transactions are not.
Okay, makes sense. Next question, comment, please.
Hi, my name is Shahid. I'm an entrepreneur and wealth coach. My question is probably if you highlighted that, with the success and the observation of Bitcoin and how successful it's been in the UK. And my question is about Bitcoin and how successful it's been in the US, UK, and other parts of the world. How do you think we can replicate that kind of success in terms of digital currency in Pakistan? How do you think it would be acceptable to people?
Yeah, I take a quick crack at that. See, more than Bitcoin, the excitement is around blockchain. And blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin. And that's, in simple English, it's like a distributed ledger that nobody owns. And is distributed on many computers. So the banks and incumbents and fintechs, etc., don't have to invest in their own server power in it. And it's that blockchain technology whose application then is Bitcoin. Now, State Bank in Pakistan has gone out and said that we've got nothing to do with Bitcoin. Now, that's what they've said. But blockchain is where I see all the creativity coming in from. That's like the big play. And nobody's stopping fintechs and startups in Pakistan to start to go and explore that. That's one. Number two, even if the State Bank says that we are not supporting Bitcoin, people in Pakistan have invested in Bitcoin, they would continue to trade Bitcoin, and things will happen around Bitcoin, right? Because it can't be regulated in that sense. But would it be smart for startups and fintechs to go out and focus on Bitcoin? Or rather than they look at the underlying technology, which is blockchain, and so much could be done with that. So if somebody asks for my advice, I would say in Pakistan, look at blockchain and don't worry. But if you really badly want to do something in Bitcoin, it could be a niche player, which the regulator won't be able to do anything in that sense. But it won't become mass.
Frequency actually being accepted, like over-the-counter payments. So for any
it won't be a legal
or any normal store where you can walk in and pay through Bitcoin or like.
It won't be a legal tender. I mean, I could put a sign outside my shop and say I many shops open up, then there's an issue, right? So on an online store or in private or whatever, I can sell a piece of land in Bitcoin, that's fine. And I can take that Bitcoin and invest wherever I want. All of that will happen. But, this is something that the state bank seems to have taken a clear position on right now. Again, it's not because of that the state bank doesn't understand these things. It's the fact that we are in a digital, we are in a geographically sensitized, geopolitically charged up place. I mean, people think the world is going to be blown up from Pakistan. So some of that, gets reflected in our policies. Another question? Comment? Would anyone like to say anything? Parting comments? Anything? Or questions amongst ourselves?
About Bitcoin, see, the thing is that state bank can't regulate Bitcoin. It's a digital currency, right? Like you can hold it and you can transact with anybody globally if you have the authentic Bitcoin. Whether it is in the digital format or in the paper format, you can even have the ATMs, Bitcoin ATMs and everything. So the regulator doesn't play a role over here. And if you have a robust system in place to accept and then dispense a digital currency, then you have the platform available. It's simple as that. So the local regulator doesn't play.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you go and develop in areas like these, then who would fund you? Who would support you? Who would grow you? So very quickly you run into a corner where you won't be able to scale. You see, that's the only why. So and that's why I say that you need people with a bit of experience in the startup and the fintech space, and that's why I keep saying people in the organizations need to get out and try to do these things when the window is still open.
I think another comment or question from this is it's not just the PhD to industry level initiative which is like making big waves around. It's also the banks are opening up. Right? So they are creating very closed user systems, and they are also experimenting with their own sort of internal disruption and all those sort of things. So what is keeping the banks that sort of act on?
Well, I think banks in Pakistan have not done well in general in trying to evolve and stay with the times. So they haven't really done well in terms of innovation. If I say that they become a little lethargic and probably are just enjoying the fat margins and a low competitive environment that they've had for a very long time. So I think the onus always comes on new entrants to the market, the smaller players who are more desperate, who are more nimble, who find it easier to do new things, and that's sort of where I think we, in that category, that's where we fall. And then secondly, without trying to blow my own trumpet, it's a thought process of really fairness. So, a lot of time, there are a lot of young people who are sitting in this audience. You take a brilliant idea to some sales, and they will say, "Yeah, I and then I do something with this great idea." So the same kind of mindset I see a lot of time in the banks also, where they treat people like Qasif and Fintechs as if capital to we have all the money. So what's the worth of an idea? So I can actually buy the company or buy the individual. So I think that's not the right type of mental mindset if you want to thrive in the digital economy. So what we have done is we are here to the first example in Pakistan where we have gone ahead into a revenue sharing relationship with the fintech, which I really think is the right thing to do.
With what you guys were saying, what's happening in the banking sector, a lot of you guys are familiar. You know what banks do in Pakistan, right? For the knowledge of everyone here, you keep opening branches. You open a lot of branches every year. It's a very cash-heavy economy. It's undocumented. Only 900,000 people filed their income tax statements last year. Officially, our GDP is about $250 billion, but in real terms, it's probably $500 billion. Your deposits have been growing at a rate of about 16 to 17% a year, every year for the last decade. We're now at about 9 trillion rupees of deposits in Pakistan. So banks take a deposit from here, and every alternate Wednesday, the government has a T-bill auction. The government of Pakistan, our budget last year was, this year is $43 billion. That's the government's budget for the year. And out of that, the government will borrow about $16 billion. Where will that come from? That will come from money that the government buys through treasury, borrows through treasury bills. So the banks are right now in Pakistan an amazing window which collects cash from the common public and lends it to the government, which prints more of it and puts it in the system. So if you're a bank in Pakistan, now Habib Bank made a profit of 30 billion rupees last year. $300 million net profit after tax. Next in line about 28 billion. You come to a mid-market bank like Standard Chartered Bank and they made about 7 billion. You come to a smaller bank like a Suneri type, they're making $2 billion, $20 million. The salary of a bank CEO in Pakistan ranges from $400,000 a year to $2 million a year. Now, if you make $2 million or even $400,000 in Pakistan, fantastic lifestyle. You have no reason to go out there and try something crazy.
Yeah.
And when we as a startup go to meet banks and we look at the offices, obviously I used to be in that industry before.
Yeah.
You look at our office, we don't even get the tables polished. We're like, "Bas aisi dana do." And so it's no surprise that there is that semblance of calm and complacency in banks, because globally banking sector is doing badly. In Pakistan, banking profits are soaring.
Yeah.
Even in this environment where interest rates have come down.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about giving money to Fintechs. Banks don't even invest in new industrial projects.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to. It's a machine, right?
Yeah.
Pick up cash from here, lend to the government.
Yeah.
So this country is so ripe for an amazing disruption in the crowdfunding space,
Yes.
in the crowd lending space, in the private equity space, in the venture capital space, because there is no competition from the big guys.
Yes.
So everyone who's in this room
Yes.
and who's thinking of doing something, I mean, I guess in the developer, if you're in a startup and you're trying to do something, maybe if your probability is 1 in 1,000, it's probably 1 in 100. You've got 10 times better odds of succeeding in Pakistan
Absolutely.
because of the complacency of the
Yes.
Moderator institution.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Very, very nice. Thank you.
I have a very quick question.
Please.
Mic?
Yes.
The mic will be passed down. Let me just make a comment. I would say that there is calm before the storm, because there must be some reason why Santander, HSBC, Citibank, BBVA, Society General, BNP Paribas are actually opening themselves up for fintech. So they are all earning very huge profit. So there must be something that they are sensing that which is happening through the fintech space that they need to go on rather than others.
My name is Saad. My question is from Junaid, and this question is rather irrelevant from the corporate rate that we're maintaining right now, according to the financial that we're talking about from the perspective of e-commerce. My question is regarding the e-commerce that we are moving into right now and that we are expecting in the ages of tomorrow. We might be expecting Uber to get into Pakistan in the coming time. And we've just talked about Amazon and other companies who are and big names who are migrating to Pakistan. My question to you is, how do you maintain your integrity, and how do you establish your stability into the market in front of that big player? How would you sustain in the coming time?
By the way, Uber is launching tomorrow.
Uber is launching
in
tomorrow.
in Karachi.
That's a great news.
Yeah,
In
so
Karachi.
it's a huge market. Firstly, Careem competes with Uber in 10 countries. So it's not a first. And we can't beat them on price. We never can, right? We always are a tad bit more expensive. We beat them on the product. So in Pakistan, in Karachi right now, we've got 4 car types, ranging from a new Civic with a Wi-Fi to an old Mehran. What do you want? So accordingly, there are 4 car types for different customers. Secondly, you have to focus on technology adoption for the market. So you can book through the app, you can book through the website, and you can book through the phone. So these are 3 things that you have which you don't have in our competitors. Now you would say app and then phone, why the website? Because Pakistan is still a big desktop market. People still like to use the desktop, so we have to be there. Number 3, we have different types of rides. A now ride, a later ride, and a repeat ride. So if you want a car every morning at 8:45 a.m., every weekday except for 14th August, you can set that up in the app. So our pricing is slightly different in Karachi and slightly different in Lahore for the same car type. So you have to be super local, and it's in that local, being local and being nimble and being reactive and being a more closer part of your community is what makes you win. Whether it's e-commerce, whether it's ride hailing, it's not even a country to country play, it's a city by city play. You have to understand your cities, you have to understand your neighborhoods, and that's how you win, by tailoring your service. And that's how we're winning it in all the markets we're in. And hopefully, I don't know how many of you know this, but while Careem may be changing lives in 10 countries, 85% of our captains globally are Pakistani.
Wow.
The most important thing that some of you or a lot of you or all of you may not know, that the app itself, while it was launched 9 months ago in Pakistan, Careem is made in Pakistan. Careem's development center is up in Pakistan. So we compete with global giants on a technology made in Pakistan, or a chief architect is from us.
Yeah,
So that's the secret sauce.
But by the way,
I know him personally.
by the way, I want to say something. This line of thinking, if you take that forward into your marketing positioning, I don't think you're going to have a chance. Because you're giving the opportunity for Pakistanis to love a Pakistani product and buy Pakistan. And yeah.
We keep saying that, at least it's a personal ambition to myself, that people love sports teams, people own a country or a city, but they rarely ever own a corporate brand. Except it has happened in 2 instances in Pakistan. One is Coke Studio. It's a corporate product, but it resonates with everything that's Pakistan, and we love it. And the other is Khadi. I mean, there's so many other guys who are selling textile goods, but Khadi is so truly Pakistani that if anyone comes from abroad, we all make it a point to take them to a Khadi store. And when we're going down the street in London, see the Khadi outlet, we feel proud. So that's our ambition, that we want Careem to be recognized as something so Pakistani.
Fantastic. Awesome. Great stuff. Great. I think we have to call this panel to an end.
Of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all our speakers and to Qasif for moderating this panel discussion.